Hello, it's Charles Scoville, your Golden Harvest agronomist, with your Focus Friday here on May the 26th. So, holy cow, has it been dry weather here these last couple weeks. And of course, the biggest concern is there's no real appreciable rain in the near future forecast. So, getting questions all week long about possible replant of corn and soybeans. Went out and walked some fields, and yeah, where we've got some crust out there, it's really hard for these, especially the soybean plants, to break through that crust. So the good news is it looks like all those seeds have germinated and they've put some growth on them, but they've hit that crust there and they've just stopped. And for those areas that didn't get that rain a week ago Friday, that crust remained solid, and those beans are sitting there. And in a lot of cases, the necks, the crooks of those soybean plants are breaking off. And at that point in time, those plants are done. So, what do we do? And we need to evaluate these fields here and really make some fairly quick decisions on whether we need to think about any replant. Because obviously we're getting near the end of May here, and time is of the essence. So, put together a quick agronomy alert on making some replant decisions. And of course, the first thing about making that replant decision is understanding how much of a stand do we have, and or do we think we're going to have in the next day or two that's really going to make it, and taking some good counts. And so understanding our row length and counting plants for those corn and beans that are planted in rows, or using that hula hoop method for counting the number of plants in a given area for relative population on soybeans is key. And certainly there are some great charts out there for determining the number of plants in a foot of row or in a diameter, given diameter of a hula hoop, to make those decisions. But at the end of the day, the question is, how many plants do I really need? And we need to look at the calendar date in combination with the number of plants out there in the field. So an example on corn, for instance, if you use some of the University of Illinois or even Purdue University data, you'll find that if, for instance, we planted that crop, let's say, somewhere in that first week or two of May, and we've only got maybe 20,000 plants per acre out there, I can end up with about an 83% of my expected yield, and that's tough. But in some cases for replant, it's not about ever getting back to 100% yield potential. It's how do I lose the least? And so when I compare that to, let's say I do replant and I put in a full 32 to 34,000 plants per acre here at the end of May, the reality is, because of the delayed planting date, I'm only, according to the chart, at 84 to 87% yield potential. So I'm giving up a somewhat guaranteed 83% yield potential for an 84 to an 87% yield potential going back to a full stand. So again, it's really tough because we know no matter what we do, we have lost yield potential. What we don't want to do is throw good money after bad and go ahead and put a full stand out there and then not ever have a chance of getting that 100% yield potential. And soybeans are kind of a similar situation. You know, of course, with corn, there's no really filling it in. With soybeans, sometimes there's some potential of going back and filling in that stand a little bit to help both with weed control and with additional plant stands out there. But when we make those decisions, again, let's say that on that first second week of May, we planted and now we've only got 60,000 plants per acre. Well, the charts say that we can get still an 88 to 90% yield potential out of that field with that population. But if I go back in here the end of May, first part of June, and I bump that all the way back to 140,000 plants per acre, I can really only expect an 86% yield potential versus that earlier planting date. And so in many cases, whether it's corn or beans, we can handle a lower current stand and still be just as well off as if we went back in and put that stand to a full population. Now, as always, with Golden Harvest, we're going to stand behind the product, and we're going to we got a great replant policy out there if you need it, and the decision ultimately is yours. We just want to help you to make the best decision for your farming operation to be the most profitable we can in the situation that we've been dealt with this year. So, at the same time, I always like to take some time on Fridays to do a little bit of product focus. And for my corn product focus today, I want to spend some time talking about our newest Enogen product, E105Z5. And this thing is being brought into the lineup to replace the E105T1. And we're really excited about what this thing is bringing to the lineup. So, this is going to be a product that for a drought tolerance is a 3, so it's going to handle those broadly adapted and sometimes a little bit tougher soils really well. But this is all about being dual purpose. A great silage option, a good grain option, and we're talking about Enogen, we're talking about that feed opportunity for livestock especially. And but what we're going to find is this is an extremely tall hybrid, so it certainly leans itself well to that silage product, and yet it has a really good stalk and emergence ratings, 3 for emergence and early vigor. The watchouts probably on agronomics are under its root strength and test weight of a 5, and yet if we're feeding livestock, I don't really mind that lighter test weight, trying to get a little bit more digestible kernels along the way. When we think about the disease tolerance, it really shines for gray leaf spot with a 3 and anthracnose stalk route with a rating of 2. Our watchouts for disease are more on the northern corn leaf blight with a 5. And right now we have a tar spot rating of 5 as well. And I think as we get to see that over a couple years, we'll see how that works. But we want to make sure we manage those diseases if we do have any concerns along the way. And I think about the ear type, it is a semi-flex ear. When we go into Illuminate, we run the populations on that. It shows anywhere from 26 to 34,000 plants per acre. And really that modified root on this gives us that broad adaptability to handle some of those lower populations. And yet with a semi-upright leaf, we can handle some higher populations too. So again, leans into that real broad adaptation of this new Enogen E105Z5. So other than that, we may want to watch out on the really highly productive soils or poorly drained soils, but a product that I am really excited about getting out into the lineup for a boost to our Enogen varieties this year. On the soybean side, I want to spend some time talking about the GH2610E3. Now, we've had that around for a few years now. There's a reason it's still around. The thing performs. What I love about this is it gives us our Peking source of resistance for soybean cyst nematode, and it also has a 3 rating for sudden death syndrome. So it makes it a broadly adapted variety. The 2610s are medium in height and medium in plant width for canopy. So looking at 120 to 140,000 plants per acre, depending on your row width, is a really good place to find this. One watch out on the 2610 E3s is it does tend to throw a little bit smaller seed size. And so therefore it really does its best on those more highly productive soils, those soils that don't tend to get as droughty, because when we can maintain a good amount of moisture in that soil profile when we're doing that bean size fill late in the season, everything we can do to keep a little bit greater size in those beans always tends to give us a little bit more additional yield potential along the way. But at the end, you've heard me say this before on 2610s, probably the best eye appeal of any variety that we sell. And you get somebody that wants to look across the road at a field of soybeans that's just beautiful as all get out all season long. That 2610 is one that is uniform tabletop, dark green, and just beautiful to look at. So a couple great products to talk about this week. And again, this is Charles Scoville, your Golden Harvest agronomist, with your Agronomy in Action Focus Friday.